Manchester City beat Brentford 1-0 at the Etihad Stadium in a game that could be a potential banana skin. Why? Because Manchester City have an interesting record against Brentford. Last season, they lost both games. However, this season, they dispelled any fears of them losing to Brentford on both occasions by beating them. But the only thing that I noticed in this game, especially the one at the Etihad, was that Manchester City were not at their brilliant best. Now, they were obviously creating a lot of opportunities, and Manchester City always seemed to do that. But there's this unique frailty that I've noticed in Manchester City in that they're not dispatching of their opponents in the same fashion as we're accustomed to. Now, when you look at Liverpool and Arsenal winning very handsomely over the weekend, and with Arsenal in particular looking very menacing with the types of victories that they're able to rack up, I'm beginning to question whether if Manchester City were to face either side, which they will do in a couple of weeks' time, and they will face them back to back, will Manchester City be able to actually overcome both sides? What's up, guys? It's your boy Izzy, and if you're new to the channel, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like and the subscribe button to let YouTube and everybody else know that you are enjoying this content. Now, the Brentford game was fairly straightforward, and as far as when you look at the scoreline, you expect Manchester City to win. But something that I've noticed over the last couple of games is that they've somewhat struggled to break down their opponents, and we saw it culminate in that 1-1 draw against Chelsea. Now, you could argue that Everton and Brentford don't have the tools that are necessary to take down Manchester City, especially in an attacking force. In the case of Brentford, they have a potentially world-class striker if he was to move to a bigger club and to prove that he could be able to do it in Ivan Toney. And in Everton, they had forwards like Calvert-Lewin who have not found the net very often this season, and I think Calvert-Lewin actually hasn't found the net in a very long time, something like 14 or 15 games. So against Chelsea, which is a side that could potentially cause any team a lot of problems, they have the speed to be able to do it. They have a manager who has faced Guardiola on numerous occasions and come out on top. And then on top of that, they have a team that has a lot of promising players who have underdelivered so far this season. Chelsea were able to show that if you have a tactical master plan and you keep to it, you might be able to keep Manchester City at bay. Now, Brentford did their best to do that because a 1-0 scoreline, especially if you think about the fact that they were thrashed 4-1 by Liverpool over the weekend, is not something that, you could come away from the Etihad Stadium and feel too badly about. Brentford even actually had a few chances. In the first half, Onyeka had the best opportunities to put Manchester City in a state of shock. The first opportunity, you can argue if it would have fallen to Ivan Toney, would have been a goal. Onyeka was free on goal. He raced through, clean away, but he had a very poor shot that was easily saved by Ederson. There was a little bit of pressure from a Manchester City defender, but that should have been an opportunity that Onyeka should have taken. He also had a header, which was a pretty decent effort, but was saved by Ederson pretty comfortably. And then on any other opportunity, Ivan Toney had a couple of shots. Manchester City definitely controlled that first half. There was no question that they were the better side. There was no question that Manchester City would eventually go ahead. It was just a matter of time because Brentford were being pinned back. They did give a little bit of a glimpse of the opportunities that any team should be able to take advantage of because Manchester City are committing a lot of players forward, and whenever they do that, it seems to leave them at a state of confusion in the back. They don't seem to be getting back quite as fast as they normally do. Now, I don't know if it's something of a tactical tweak, but with the way Manchester City are approaching these games, they are also allowing a lot of the teams to have a lot of shots on their goal. And if they come up against a much better team, for example, a Liverpool or an Arsenal, who do have the firepower to be able to take care of those opportunities, Manchester City can find themselves in a little bit of a state of disrepair. The second half was what you would expect. Manchester City dominated most parts of it, and Brentford could not get out of their half for most of the game. But it was a very fortunate goal, and this time yet again another Brentford mistake that allowed Erling Haaland to be able to put them 1-0 up. And the relief around the stadium and on the players' faces was very palpable. This is the second time in 3 games that they have had to score a goal right around the 70th minute. They were able to press ahead against Everton and score a second goal, but in this one they were denied by an offside flag. And later on, Phil Foden was not able to convert an opportunity when he raced clear on goal. He did everything right, but was unable to put the ball past Fleck. The only thing that I'm noticing is that Manchester City don't seem to have that fluidity that you normally associate them with. They are attacking and they are beating these teams to submission, but the fact that it seems to be later on down in the game when they are able to turn it on, is suggesting that Manchester City's attacking fluidity is not where we normally associate it to be. Now, against Chelsea, they were able to break through towards the end. Against Everton, they also broke through towards the end, and against Brentford. But with these tough games coming up in the future, when they face Arsenal and they face Manchester United and they face Liverpool, they are going to have a very daunting march. And if this fixture list is going to be piling on them, we might see Manchester City drop a lot more points than we expect them to. We always associate them with this point of the season as being the team that is like the Terminator, who just go out there and annihilate all the teams en route to a trophy. There is something to suggest that they are not as defensively sound, because they tend to concede a lot of opportunities, and at the same time they have been conceding a lot of goals from their first shot on target against them. This is not to say Manchester City are not going to be the formidable force that we know them to be. They are always going to be able to try and defend their title with any and every fiber of their being. But I do want to suggest that we are seeing a slightly different Manchester City, one that has not coagulated enough, if that's a word that I can use. They have not really meshed to the potential that we know them to. Now, they definitely might be able to do it, but there is something that I've noticed over the last few games where Manchester City have toiled to win these games. But at the same time, you can also say that whenever you're not playing to the best of your capability and you are still able to take 2 out of 3 wins, because when you think about the fact that Brentford and Everton are trying to stave off relegation, these teams can easily surprise a top of the table team at any point of the season. We've seen it happen plenty of times before. So it's not the worst thing for Manchester City to be still getting wins, even though they're not playing to the same fluidity that we are accustomed to. But one thing that I do want to say is that if this was Manchester City facing a Liverpool, an Arsenal, an Aston Villa, or teams of that ilk that are fighting at the top of the table, a lot of the chances that they tend to concede, especially at the beginning part of the games, will go punished. And if that is the way Manchester City are going to be approaching these games, they might need to find a way to sew up their defense, because at the moment they don't seem as rigid as we've become accustomed to. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Do you think I'm tripping? Do you think Manchester City are eventually just going to blow everybody out the water? Because I am noticing that they are toiling to these victories. And if Brentford had not conceded from Aya's slip, well, it could have been a much, much more dangerous situation for Manchester City, because they don't want to fall any further behind Liverpool. And with Arsenal flying right now, they don't want to have a big gap approaching the games when they face both sides towards the end of the month. But anyway, guys, it's been your boy Izzy with a very quick video. Up until the next time, as always, peace.